So I'm actually going to go to normal speed and go to the craft, and I'm going to log temperature. We're going to get some science for that. And I'm going to go ahead and do a test alive beep and get just a little bit more science for that. And that puts us over 45. Not that that's going to do any good for us for right now. And I'm also going to go ahead and start the radar scanner. It's too high right now. Let's see if we can find Minimus. It should be below us, sort of, right? Yeah, I can't find it. Maybe it's above us. I don't know. There it is. Alright. There's Minimus. It's looking pretty big compared to Kerbal now. Even though we're way closer to it, because it's just plain smaller. But we're going to start the radar scan. It doesn't matter what your attitude is for this radar scanner. In real life, it would obviously matter, but in the game, it does not. It will scan regardless of what your attitude is. Mainly because, you know, you have the on-rails thing, and it's supposed to work when it's outside the background. And that's too much simulation, too much math for the game to take into account and still actually work on a halfway reasonable PC. You know, there might be like 5 people in the world that has a computer or something like that that would run a simulation that detailed, but certainly would not be mine, and not most of yours either. So that's kind of interesting how the things go right through. That probably would not be the best design in real life, but again, we're Kerbalizing it. That's one of the things about Kerbal. You know, they purposely made some of the aesthetics to be like it's duct taped together. It's just a tin can that they converted into a pod, things like that, because, you know, trying to get things perfect and everything like that, like they would in real life, it's just it doesn't work as well with a sandbox game like this. And so this way, you know, your aesthetic, even though things don't work quite right, it doesn't look right, it gets you out there, right? And when it gets us learning, it gets us having fun. So, okay, we are about 2 hours out, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my time warp back on. And it came real quick. There it came. Alright. So that was like putting it into like what the Millennium Falcon did at the end of episode 7 there. It went straight into the atmosphere of the planet. Okay. So we're 11 minutes out. I'm going to go at least up to 50. Actually, I'll go up to 100 until we get to 2 minutes. 6, 5, 4, 3, down, 2, 1, down, 4, 3, down, 2, 1, and I'm going to go down again. I need to readjust my attitude a bit. And 6, 5, 4. Okay, I was counting to myself while I wasn't looking at my time. I was looking at my attitude. 2, 1, 0. You gotta go by the numbers and not by the actual time, because the game slows down because it's got the planet is having to render the planet as well, and so that slows my game down, at least on my computer. And so I'm just burning on my maneuver node. Get this down to just below 250. There we go. Alright. And we can go to this. And it says ideal. We can also pull this up. It says ideal, and we're at the like 11,000 or 11 kilometer mark. What I'm going to do is when I come out here, I'm going to add a maneuver at my apoapsis, and I'm going to push my per-apsis out to circularize my orbit. Alright. So that's pretty close. Alright. And I'm going to adjust my attitude to be on my maneuver node. And I'm going to time warp once again. We're not going to go too willy-nilly with it. Probably F5 just to be sure. One of the things you wanted to keep in mind, though, is once you F5, I'm sure there's a mod out there for sure, and there are other ways I'm sure that you can maybe have multiple saves, but if you F5, you can't go back to before that F5 very easily, at least. And so you don't, sometimes F5ing can kind of screw you if you do it in the wrong time frame. So you do want to be careful with that. So one of the things I'm looking at, you see this green triangle here, that's where the satellite is scanning. And so if that goes dark for some reason, it's usually one of two things. It's either the electric charge has run out and so it has no more electric charge, or it's too far out of range. It's no longer in the ideal range. And so I'm not sure if 250 is too far out or not. I don't believe it is. In fact, that's why I put it there. But it may be. So I'm going to speed it up just a little bit more. Go back up, and I passed my maneuver node, but I'm going to be close enough for for this particular type of maneuver, the last maneuver. I'm just going to go slowly, and that's going to be good enough, right? Okay, and so because it's Minimus, you know, we're going to get this thing done real quick. So I'm just going to fast forward it now. We're going to watch it go around and around and around. And it's got 100%. And so we have mapped Minimus. Now, we have initiated the first flyby. We've escaped the gravitational influence of Kerbal and all this stuff. But why didn't I... Oh, there it just hadn't caught up yet. It just hadn't figured it out yet. Okay. Excellent work. Despite the grainy monochrome image we've recovered, our experts are very excited to see what they can find. Great. So, now we want to go to the moon. Set as target. Alright. So we want to zoom out until we get Minimus's orbit. And so we're going to want to try and go retrograde. Now, a polar orbit can be more difficult to go retrograde because you're not always pointing. Like if a polar orbit was this way, there is no retrograde, right? You're just going outside the influence. So I'm gonna want to burn when it's going around this way, right? If it's going around this way, I'm not even sure which way it is going. Let's speed up the time warp for a second. Yeah, okay. So my craft is going in a clockwise direction as we are looking right now. So I'm going to want to burn right about here. It's not going to be perfect, but it is going to be close enough. Right? Because we're burning backwards in the orbit. We're also burning way up, but that's besides the point. And we're going to try and burn it until our per apsis here is meets up with the moon. Oh. Alright, so now we're getting an encounter here. I can adjust it by actually going this way. Sooner or later, we will get an encounter with the moon. Oh, and there it was. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to F5, and then I'm going to focus view on the moon. And I'm going to turn the satellite thing off. I'm going to try and get this a little bit more dialed in. And I'm going to do that by just doing the pluses and minuses over here, right? So one click of that on the smallest increment knocks it way off. But this, we can do... Yeah, so I'm too far away. There's too much. So I might have to do these adjustments like when I'm halfway over here, right? So I'm going to count on the moon, but it's just barely. So I'm going to go ahead and press F5. That will actually save your maneuver node if we went down the line a little bit and we F9'd it. Control F9, or is it Alt F9? Pretty sure it's Control F9, or no, that's Alt F9. Well, I don't know why I can't remember that, but anyway, when you Alt F9 it, it'll come back to this exact point, and the maneuver will be there, and you'll be at the same point. So if you want to save your maneuver and then ding with it some more, you can. And so if I like just totally screwed up my thing, I could just Alt F9, and I pressed F10, which was not the right thing. Okay, F9. No, that's not it. Control F. Okay, I gotta push the function button. That's why I'm thinking it's one thing. Y'all are probably all thinking this guy's an idiot. Everybody knows it's just plain F9. You know, I have to push a function button, and it's right there by the control and alts, and that's probably why I couldn't remember. I got the muscle memory at this point, so I don't even think about it. Okay, so we have our counter. We need to adjust our attitude to our maneuver node. Here we go. And we got 3 hours to the burn. So I'm gonna time warp to that. And we still got 2,600 meters per second delta V. So we might even get to do something fun with this. After we're done mapping the moon. Okay. Down to 0. Or normal. 6 seconds out. Burn for 6 seconds. 0. And my maneuver node's starting to get away from me, so I'm going to just go slowly at it. I'm going to focus on the moon. We got our counter. It's flickering on us, but it's there. Okay, I'm going to F5 once again, and then I'm going to start to time warp. Okay, so we're outside Minimus's influence. I'm going to stick a maneuver right there, and I'm going to push it. I was trying to get it to stop flickering at least. So what does that do for me? Nothing. What does this do for me? Nothing. What does this do for me? Nothing. Add maneuver. Okay. There we go. And that's going to be very close to polar orbit. Alright? I think I'm going to leave it there, because then when I get to this periapsis, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a maneuver that changes my inclination and closes the orbit simultaneously. You want to try and use as few maneuvers as possible. That's how to keep it most efficient, typically. But sometimes it's just better to do it in a separate maneuver. Alright, now this maneuver is not going to be for another 12 days. So I'm going to fast forward. We're going around with the moon, but our satellite is there. And, oh, I pushed the M key by accident, making sure to slow down in time. So I was going too fast. Go ahead and F5 this. Seems to have stopped flickering, which is nice. Yeah, flickering can drive you crazy sometimes. Okay, we're down to 10 times. I'm going to take that down to 30 seconds to node burn. We're at T minus 30 seconds, so we'll come on down. I'm going to come on down to normal here. Oh, and it's flickering again. I'm going to zoom in, back in on the moon a little bit, just so we can see our orbit get adjusted. We're 7 seconds to the burn. It's only going to be a 1.7 second burn, rather. So I'm going to F5. Probably should have done that a little bit earlier, but off. And try and stick with my maneuver node here. That's pretty close. Still flickering quite a bit though. Oh, it's so annoying. Okay, so I'm going to F5 one more time. And we're going to wait until we get back into the sphere of influence. And here it comes. Alright, we've hit it. Finally, I'm going to F5 one more time. I'm going to press M, and let's get some science. Log temperature. I'm sorry, I'm not reading the thing. I've done these so many times that signal strength is 98%. Delay is 34 millionths of a second. We'll send that in for 3 science. We also got a thing flying by the moon. And we also got all these. So we are doing pretty good on money and science now, thanks to what we're doing. And you know, when I was at Memmis, I didn't even. I'm looking for the moon. There it is. When we were at Memmis, we didn't even get the science for being close in. So I could have done that when I did my periapsis burn, or right after I finished doing my orbital entry burn, but honestly I forgot, and we'll be back there soon enough with these and more instruments, so I'm not too worried about it. But we could have had that science now. So when I'm going to go ahead and add a maneuver, and put it at the periapsis, and we're going to burn retrograde till we achieve an orbit. And then I also want it to be, I want to adjust our inclination to be polar, truly polar, as close to it as I can. And there's a nice little indicator here of what my inclination is, so we want that to be 90. So you notice when I'm doing my retrograde burn, it's also adjusting my inclination now that I've induced some. Oh, and I just passed 90. 90 degrees exactly. It's going to get us to 120 meters, 120 kilometers, rather. And I think probably 280 is going to be about right for the moon, or maybe even 300. I don't know. But we'll stick with this because it gives us the right inclination, and then if we want to adjust it later at the periapsis and apoapsis, we can without really suffering any loss of, what's it called? Efficiency. Alright, so we're going to adjust our attitude to be on our maneuver node here, once again. And it's just, you know, it's kind of repetitive in that sense. You just keep on, you set up your maneuver node, you adjust your attitude to the maneuver node, you F5 it, quick save it, and you speed up until you get to the correct point. And here it comes. We slow it down. 8, 7, 6, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, slow it down. Slow it down again at 1 minute. Slow it down again at 30 seconds. And I'm going to slow it down again. And then slightly adjust my attitude. And then 3, 2, 1, burn. My maneuver node is running away from me, so I'm just going to chase it and do a shift, a slight throttle. Oh, I pressed Z instead of X. That wasn't cool. So I'm going to try and fix that. Go back to the maneuver node. The new maneuver node changes actively for you, so as long as you're pushing towards the maneuver node and you haven't gone too far in your orbit, like if you try and push towards your maneuver node but you're way over here, you're never going to get it, because the way orbital mechanics work, that just would never work. But as long as you're pretty close still, you can fix those problems, no problem. Alright, and so now we're in a nice polar orbit. Is this thing still active? It is. I'm going to click Analyze Data, and it's got 0. I should have done that when I was still at Minimus. I should have done that. I would have gotten a lot of science. Oh, man. Guys, I'm focused so much on doing this movie, I'm making some really silly, simple mistakes. That would have been quite a bit of science, too. So once you've mapped a planet, before you leave that sphere of influence, you want to go ahead and analyze the data and send that off to Kerbal. That's actually a good source of science. I just missed out on, I don't know, 20, 40 science right there. Okay. So this is obviously too far out, which I could have told you that just by looking at it. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on this and we're going to pin it over here, and we're going to watch this attitude too high, and once it goes to ideal, we're going to want to take note of that. Okay. So it went to ideal around 300, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And you could rewind your video, but it's harder for me to do live here. So I'm thinking 180 is really where we want to be, and this is at 123. So we're going to do a burn at the periapsis, and we're going to bring it down to 180. We're going to just look right here. And when I say 180, I really mean like 179. There we go, 179. Adjusting my attitude to match my maneuver node. And then F5. And then I'll fast forward. 0. Alright, so we're at 6 seconds out. It's going to be a short, quick burn. And off. Okay, I'm going to chase my maneuver node a little bit and just shift up a little bit, and then that's close. That's good. Alright. And then I'm going to hit at the apoapsis, and I'm going to watch my periapsis here and bring it up to 179 or close to it. Alright, that's on. I mean, like, if I'll never get it that exact, but if I could get it that exact, then it would be a perfect circular orbit. That's why I can get it that way. Like I mentioned on a video a couple times ago, I can usually get it exact. Well, that's because I'm using all these tools. Like if you're just doing stock vanilla KSP, yeah, you're never going to get it that precise. And that's okay. It doesn't need to be that precise. That's my OCD coming out, getting it that precise. And actually, that's even more precise than I'm accustomed to. But, you know, I try and get it as precise as possible, just because, I don't know, just because I am OCD. So we're gonna fast forward here. It's 41 minutes. So we're down. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Slow her down. 1. Slow her down. Slow her down again. 25. 15, 14. Slow her down. Adjust my attitude just a bit to make sure I'm on center. 5, 4, and this is going to be such a small burn that I'm actually going to burn early, but not at full thrust. I'm going to increase the thrust a little bit. And that's good. I mean, I'm at 179.5 and 178.3. That is close enough. To get it as perfect as that maneuver node was suggesting, I don't know if that's even possible, quite frankly. Hey, that's just too perfect. So, okay. So we've already started, and so we'll fast forward this thing and just let it do its work. And this is actually a pretty ideal altitude, if you see. Oh, I'm really liking this. We're gonna get 100% in no time. It's about as good as you could hope for. I don't know, there might be a better one, but I don't know. Yeah, so we got 100% now. This is 96.3. But it looks like oh, there's 100%. And there is our contract complete. Excellent. And so we are now at almost 500,000 Kerbal bucks, and we are at 88.5 science. So one thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to try. I have 2,000 meters per second. I'm going to try and land on the surface. We might litho brake a little bit here if I run out of delta V, but why not? I mean, one reason why not would be we could always get contracts to recover science from the orbit of the moon, and leaving this in orbit would give us that opportunity. But I also know that so the counter argument, why should we do it, is if we land on the moon, we're going to get a lot more science. We're going to get achievements or like standard standard milestone achievements for going into a suborbital trajectory in if we land on the moon, landing on the moon, those types of things. And so I think it'll be worth it, and we'll always be we'll put another satellite in orbit around the moon. Of that we can be assured. We'll probably do several of those contracts, in fact, so I'm not worried about that. I'm just in my orbit. I didn't quite want to go that far. A little bit too far. And we're going to land at the poles, too. And that's going to be nice because, honestly, I rarely do land at the poles. And so, yeah, so that's pretty good right there. So landing at the poles, what that's going to do for me is it's going to give me a biome that's pretty unique. Most of the biomes that I land in are going to be around the equator. You know, I might go up to this thing at some point, but you know, you typically land around the equator because that's the easiest to get to from Kerbal, and landing at the pole is just going to give us a little bit more science. Now, like I said, one of the things I forgot to do at Minimus, and I'm not going to forget now, is I'm going to right-click on this thing, Analyze Data, and look, that's 30 science. Bam. Send. We have entered a suborbital spaceflight above the moon. Yeah, see, I got that, and then I went and I blew it right back to an orbital spaceflight. So, but if we actually land on it, that's quite a bit more science. And one of the things I've got to remember is once I get to like about here, I'm just going to add a maneuver so I know. So give me a little indicator of when. I want to go ahead and get science from in space low. Alright. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the radar scan. I'll let that thing fold back up. And then I'm going to F5. And I'm going to fast forward about 33 minutes. I'm already in space low, so I'm going to go ahead and just stop it. I know that because I have that here. I'm going to test the alive beep, and that's 3.8 science. I'll take that. And log temperature, that's 15 science by transmission, and I'll take that. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and go up. This is going to be a little bit difficult because it's wanting to go off screen here. But when I get to this parapsis here, I'm going to want to basically stop my momentum. Bam. Okay. And watch what happens. I'm going to go from orbit to surface and see how it moves over just a little bit. That's because I'm on a polar orbit, and that is basically the difference in the rotation of the moon underneath me. And so when I actually do my retrograde maneuver, despite where this maneuver is, I'm going to actually want to burn on that, and I'm going to pay attention to my vertical and horizontal speeds here. And I want my horizontal speed to basically become 0, and that way I'm going to fall straight down. And then I'll perform a suicide burn, or as close to it as I dare, and that way I'm most likely to get there with enough delta V to survive. I should have enough delta V. I usually like to when I'm doing a mission, I want to have 2,500 Delta V to go down and then come back to get back to Kerbin. So having 1990 should be plenty to actually land this on the moon. Okay? So, I'm going to move this over a bit. It's 2 minutes to burn. I'm over the highlands. I slowed my warp down because I'm close enough now. It's pretty gnarly crater there. You can see the low resolution that I have to have for this game to work. There's a nice view of Kerbin. I'm going to take that off. Oh, I just passed it. That's okay. I just need to burn retrograde, honestly. I'm about to run out on this stage. Now I'm just going to pay attention to the horizontal speed. So 25, 1876, 15, 8, 7, 6, 5. Alright. And so, where did it go? Where's my... It's over here. Okay, so... I'm going to burn a little bit off of this to push it away from me. It's going to slow my vertical speed down, but more importantly, my horizontal speed. Once that X goes right on that dot, the horizontal speed, that's millimeters per second. So that tells you that I'm basically going straight down. I got my suicide burn here. It's going to be right about, I'm going to F5 here, by the way. When I get to about 60 meters per second, and I'm going to land on a 22-degree slope, which is horrendous, quite frankly. I ain't going to do that. So, what are we going to do? We're going to tilt it. We're going to tilt it this way, and we're going to burn. Kind of do that. Looks like it's a little bit better to land on. Because that slope right there is a little bit hideous. Right? And so I can see here what my slope is, which is at a 33-degree slope and increasing. Looks like that's got like a little valley there. It's kind of hard to see. I love that I can kind of see Kerbin, but only partially. I love that. That's awesome. That's an awesome view. In fact, I'm gonna take a screenshot of that. Alright, so our slope is coming down a little bit. Where is our retrograde marker here? Okay. So I'm just going to burn retrograde a little bit. As I'm still at a pretty horrendous slope, but I think that's... Oh. That's because I'm now going into this dip over here, and so I'm trying to land over here. Yeah, look at this. 1.5. So I can now start. There we go. I'm burning a lot of extra Delta V because I have it. If you only have 2,500 and you intend to bring your Kerbal back to Kerbin, then this is not the kind of landing you want to do. That's just not going to work. Okay, so now we're coming down 24 meters per second. I'm going to F5 once again, and when that gets to about like 23, I'm going to do a burn, full blast. It says about 3 seconds. Ooh. A little bit too much. There's my shadow. Still got some horizontal speed, which I don't like. But I'm so close that I'm just going to try and keep this speed below what it needs to be. Landed. And honestly, even though we've landed, we have enough control authority that we can still stand it right back up. I can take the T off, and there we go. We have landed on the moon, and we have landed on the surface of the moon. World's first milestones. Okay, test a live beep. Get a 5.3, not too bad. And take temperature, collected and recorded temperature data from the environment. 42 science if we return this to Kerbin, and I don't think we have enough delta V for that, but 21 science, which I'll take. Yeah, and so we'll be able to go and get something. Alright, and so now the nice thing about this is, while we won't be able to get science from the orbit of the moon without sending another craft, we can get science from the surface of the moon without sending another craft. Nice. Alright, so I'm going to F5. And then I'm just going to go, and actually before I do that, I'm going to rename this. Rename vessel. Moon Probe 01 COM relay. Accept. Alright, guys, that's it for this episode. I hope y'all enjoyed it. It's starting to get more interesting, I hope, for you guys, now that we're landing on Minimus and going in orbit around Minimus, doing some orbital mechanics, and landing on the moon. We did it Russian style, although we did a little bit better than Russians because we didn't litho brake. Well, we did a little bit, about 4 meters per second, but that was well within the tolerances of a vehicle. And go from there. Guys, thanks for watching, and I will talk to y'all later.